Not yet. Hey guys, we're glad to join us here. My name is Victoria and I'm brand manager at AdCombo. If you see us, hear us, please let us know this by chatting, by sending a message in the chat. So, and if everything is okay, today we're going to talk about where to start with native ads and how to launch an effective native ad campaign. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat because at the end of the webinar, the speakers will answer them during the Q&A session. So now let me introduce our amazing experts. Andrey, CMB Sales Lead and Center in Eastern Europe and Israel at Taboola. Mark, Senior SMB Affiliate Manager and Center in Eastern Europe and Israel at Taboola. Elamet, Head of Affiliate Department at AdCombo. And Buna, Team Lead in Affiliate Department at AdCombo. So, uh-huh. So third has written that he can't hear us well. So okay, there's some problem with the sound, almost with the audio. I suppose yes. No, I suppose audio in general, yeah. So is it better now? Uh huh. Yeah, but they keep writing that the audio is quite poor. Okay. I suppose that we can start. Let's get it rolling. I will be around. Get your pages ready by the end of the webinar. See you. And now it's time for our experts to discuss native ads and share some tips. Yes, I suppose yes. It's a high.
Thanks for the introduction, guys. I'm Andrey. I'm SMB sales team lead for business development for Eastern Europe and Israel. Been in the company for 4.5 years, predominantly focused on working with affiliates and arbitrages, being this content and search. Now, so if you give me a second, I'm going to share my screen, and please let us know in the comments whether you can see it and whether you can hear me well, because otherwise, what's the point, right? Cool. So, uh, where's Victoria, by the way? Is Victoria here? She was the means of communication for us. Can anyone see the chat and let me know whether...
I'm here.
Okay, so
But I will
what's
be
the
here
chat saying?
for a while.
Okay, so what I'm saying is like, what does the chat say? Can they see the screen? Can they hear it? Can they hear me? Just want to make sure. Okay, I'm gonna make an assumption. I'm gonna make an assumption that everyone can hear and see me well. Cool, so here's the presentation. I'm gonna go to the slideshow mode in a second. And as you would have guessed, we're gonna talk about Taboola. So for those of you who don't know, and I assume many may know, but still need to make a proper introduction, for those of you who don't know, Taboola is the content discovery platform that powers native ads across the open web. So by content discovery platform, what I mean is pretty much a native advertising platform, a platform for traffic acquisition. And so it happens in this given niche, Taboola is the largest one. So when I say largest, what I mean is that we reach 500 million daily active internet users, so 500 million people on a daily basis, which results in more than 160 billion monthly ad impressions. And it's important to understand we're not talking about just some impressions, we're talking about viewed impressions. So those that are actually in screen for a certain amount of time, and that means the ad is actually visible. So not every single ad that loads on your page every time you open this page. And the reason we have so much traffic is because we work with quite a few large publishers globally, more than 9,000 of them, like CNBC, Business Insider, CBS, BBC, and others. And what's important to mention here is that we work with them exclusively, which is one of the know-how of Taboola. So our native inventory is exclusive. So working with Taboola means you're buying large portions of traffic from exclusive traffic sources, which are some of the largest ones in the world. And again, in case you don't know, native advertising means we're exclusive below the article. So this is where native ads are positioned. Now, one of the most common questions I get, and I have been getting throughout the 4 years, is that how to start working with Taboola? And I decided to spend some time, invest some time into talking about different tiers of support that we're offering at Taboola. Some people come and they say open as an account, some people open an account themselves by the website, so I wanted to consolidate some knowledge on this slide and give you a clear overview of this. Now, the easiest way to start working with us is via self-service, meaning they can go on the website and just register. And there are pretty much no qualifiers for this, so anyone can register via the website. But usually, if you're registering via the website, until you start scaling, significantly, usually you receive close to no support. I mean, from the account management perspective. So you don't have a personal account manager, you just have general support to answer your general queries. Right? And usually the good fit for this is someone who's just starting with native advertising, someone who is just trying the platform, wants to understand what is it like to run native ads, and those who don't really need this extra bit of added value to succeed. Now, if we were to talk about advertisers who need this extra bit of value, we will talk about the enterprise tier, which is the top tier, and it's predominantly used for advertisers that have more than 200 employees. And the reason for this being is because organizations that have this amount of employees or more, this tend to be large corporations with multiple stakeholders. And usually this type of accounts, they require reactive support, meaning like a lot of stakeholders, a lot of questions. They're all aimed at a personal account manager, and this account manager is supporting the account on a reactive basis. And I don't want to generalize, but generally it's relevant mostly for branding agencies. Now, here we're talking about performance advertisers, and this is why I'm going to talk about the S&B department, which myself and Mark are representing, or as we call it at Taboola, is a growth department, which is manifested in the support tier that is working with companies with less than 200 employees and the organizations that have less amount of stakeholders, meaning that we can afford being more reactive, more proactive, excuse me, meaning that rather than waiting for the questions to be aimed at us, we show proactivity and we give this extra bit of support, extra bit of knowledge to ensure that our clients who are just starting with native or who are already seasoned, they have everything they need, not just to break even, but to run their ROI positive campaigns at scale. So that's Mark and myself, and so it happens arbitrageurs and affiliates, they mostly fall in the growth category. Now that we figured this out, we can finally talk about how to work out your test budget, because it's important to understand that Taboola, as any native advertising platform, is an aggregate of websites, hence the word network, right? So when you're testing a social media platform, you're working with a single inventory. Whilst you're working with a network, you're working with multiple sources of inventory. So in order to succeed, you can't just test one, because what happens if one doesn't work out? You need to test others. So we're being very mathematical about how we are prescribing budgets. And we're saying, aim for collecting at least 100 to 150 clicks per publisher, meaning the website, before making any optimizations, right? Because you need to have data. You need to invest in data before making data-driven decisions. It's as simple as that. Now, again, you can't base your assumptions without the information about which publishers do convert for your specific product or service or a campaign in general. So what you need to do is you need to collect on average, again, 50 to 100 websites, again, depending on the size of the geo. In the US, there is more publishers, there are thousands of them. You don't need to test all of them, but aim for about 100. For smaller geos, let's say a geo in Eastern Europe, which by definition is smaller than the US from the standpoint of journalism and the amount of websites in the local language, so aim for about 15. So one multiplied by the other, and then you get your 10,000 clicks, which you should have per test. And then you should ask your sales rep, which is myself and my team, or personal account manager, which is Mark and his colleagues, about an average CPC per geo. And once you get it, not just per geo, by the way, but per vertical, because it matters a lot, because the auction at Taboola is defined by VCPM, and we all know that VCPM is CPC and VCTR. So either one or the other, they need to be high in order for you to have high VCPM and buy large portions of traffic, larger, and get better placements, which would be on top of the feed below the article. So in order for you to get there, you need to either have high VCTR or high CPC. And since at the very beginning of your campaign, you can't really have high VCTR because you haven't started, what you need to do is you need to bid aggressively. And we usually recommend bidding 10 to 15% on top of the recommendation. And an example of this would be the following. 100 websites. Let's take Asia. Let's take Thailand, just for the sake of the argument. So let's take 100 websites, multiply by 100 clicks, divide this by 2 if you're running just one device. So if you're running one device, like say mobile, you can divide this by 2. But again, ideally aim for more data rather than less. And then multiply it by your average CPC, but being a very aggressive one. Now, when you look at 0.3 and you say, okay, that's too much for Asia, and it is too much for Thailand, it's more relevant to say South Korea. But keep in mind the following, you can always decrease. It's important to keep in mind. You can always decrease, but if you start going up from bottom up rather than top to the bottom, the chances are you will never win the auction because you'll be trying to outcompete those who are already taking these juicy placements rather than taking the placements from the very beginning and then gradually decreasing your CPC as CCTRs goes up. So let's say for Thailand, aim for maybe 15, 20 cents. Again, don't be afraid to bid aggressively. You can always go down. And most importantly, we have a technology called SmartBid, which is a second price auction. If you don't know it, I'm not going to spend time explaining it. Google it, but in short, it saves you money. To start with SmartBid, don't be afraid to bid aggressively. multiply everything, and you'll work out your test budget for a month. And when I'm saying for a month, it's you need to test for a couple of weeks. Smaller GEOs maybe 2 weeks to 3 weeks, larger GEOs maybe 3 to 5 weeks. Again, depends on the size. But keep this in mind that you need to be comparing Mondays with Mondays with Mondays, as opposed to, like on social media, run a test for 2 or 3 days and see what happens. It's not the case here. Aim for a smaller budget, data-driven campaign, data-driven assumptions, certain period of time, usually a month, maybe less. Okay, someone's saying, uh, okay, I'm not, yeah, you can't hear me well. Allah, can you hear me well?
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting because I'm receiving messages from affiliates that the sound might be not that good. So wanted to ask Victoria, if you are with us, could you please confirm if the sound is good or not? Okay, let's just wait for a second to see.
Let's wait for a second. Meanwhile, I can talk louder, which would be ridiculous for my neighbors.
It's a little, yeah, they say it's just a little bit quiet. I'm sure. I'm just wondering if it's your microphone only not that loud, or all our microphones are not that loud.
I mean, we all ran a test, and
yeah, the sound has become much better.
Okay, that's great.
So
I'll be talking a bit louder.
Okay,
no
so we all should be like being very loud for it.
Let's be more expressive, more passionate about what we talk. Sure. Apologies.
Get loud. Let's get loud.
Okay. So yeah, I'll try to speak louder. Apologies, I've lost my voice. Well, I lost my voice a couple of days ago. It just recovered.
No, you don't have to do this. Yes, and I see the messages that everything is okay now.
Okay, great stuff. And guys, apologies.
Yes, you're welcome.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys. Apologies for the sound problems. If you have any questions, if you missed something, feel free to reach out to us separately. We can always have a conversation. That's no problem. We're available for you. But just for the time's sake, I'm gonna continue now. I'm not gonna rewind the whole thing, especially that we already spent a lot of time. Cool. We worked out the test budget. Now what we do? We need to work out the geography. I mean, the reason I went first for the budget is that I'm making an assumption that you already know the geo you would like to launch with. But let's say you're just getting started, so you need a recommendation. And we're a global company. As I mentioned, we have 500 million people interacting with Taboola feed on a daily basis. But some geos are obviously larger than the other ones. US being one of the largest geo with more than 100 million active users on a daily basis, and it happens to be the largest and one of the strongest geos in terms of buying power in the English-speaking tier 1. But keep in mind, it's highly competitive because it is also the most popular one for advertisers globally. So if you're looking to diversify or just looking for a smaller geo to test the traffic, aim for Australia and Canada or United Kingdom, for instance. France and Germany are quite similar in terms of buying power. And they also tend to be on the more expensive end of the EU geos, CPC-wise. Spain, Italy, Poland, Eastern Europe, they tend to be more affordable. Again, it really depends on your goals. Keep in mind the seasonality of products, and keep in mind that your products are sometimes can be country-specific. We're talking about Nutra here, so I'm not going to spend time on other verticals, but keep in mind there are verticals that are specific for different seasons. For instance, it's Q4, so it's time to buy gifts. So, e-commerce, it's something worth exploring, even if it's Nutra. So there are other geos, of course, Africa or Asia. We mentioned India, we mentioned Thailand, we mentioned Japan, South Korea. There are lots of options to explore here. So if you're unsure, speak with our colleagues at AdCombo, speak with us, and we'll work out a good recommendation for you. So in case you don't have one. Now, we talked about the geographies, we talked about the budget, we talked about the structure. Now I'd like to take some time and focus on the creative side, the creative angle of campaign building. And so it happens that the most important, in my opinion, most important part in achieving success when running native campaigns is content, right? Because when you're running a Google campaign, let's say Google search campaign, the intent happens to be the following. Your internet consumers, they know what they're looking for. They don't need additional incentives. They're already Googling something, right? When you're social media, so it happens that, let's say Facebook has so much demographic data on its users, so it can, based on this data, make a solid assumption that this particular user needs this particular product. Again, Nutra, for instance. With native, it's a little bit different. The intent is the following. Someone's reading an article, like on a screenshot, and then they enter this state once they finish, which we call the moment of next, which is the moment when people are thinking, what is our next move? What shall we do? And this is where Taboola comes in and says, you should read more. Here is a recommendation. And Taboola as a company is very much a data-driven company itself as well. So we look at cookies, we look at contexts, we look at a lot of first-party data, which is supplied to us by our publishers, which have our code hard-coded on their website. So cookies, clicks from 500 million audience daily, context from publishers, data from publishers, all together intertwines, and this is how behavior algorithm works. In short, it looks at different users and it shows them different ads based on what they're likely to enjoy engaging with based on their behavior online. Keeping this in mind, someone finishes reading the article, they're thinking, what to read next? They're thinking about reading, not buying. So rather than trying to make a straight sale, focus on engaging them with good content. Present them with a problem. Ask yourself a question when you're writing an article, and so it happens, creating an ad. What is the problem? You need to create one. And once you create a problem, you need to, and someone clicks on the problem because they're interested. Like, this 96-year-old lady is looking like she is 40. Obviously, don't aim for this approach because it can be tricky, but that's an idea. It's a problem because how can you possibly look 40 when you're 96? You would think it's impossible. So you would like to click. And keep in mind that's not clickbait. Clickbait is when you're promising something but not delivering. But when you're clicking and you're delivering a good story, which happens to be a solution to the problem, it's like, guys, it is possible if you live a healthy lifestyle, if you're, if you eat properly and if you eat good food, you exercise, and you try this amazing cream solution, all combined will make you look great. You will look awesome. No one will be able to tell that you're 96. So you create an advertorial. And at the end of the advertorial, you say, so it happens, just today and just for you, this solution, it comes at a discount. So a 3-step approach. Problem, solution, solution with a discount. That's it. That's your key to success. But let's break it down a little bit. So we talked about the problem. When you're creating an advertorial, your headline should be the problem. You should, from the very beginning, say, that's not the problem. That's what you're going to read. And then you need to write about why should this problem be solved? Like, why should you continue reading? What's the reason for this? And be concise. 1-2 sentences. Very educational. Like, when you're picking up a book, think in these terms. Do you want to continue reading this book or do you want to drop it? You really need to grab their attention. And then something what I mentioned, talk about the solution. How can the product help? And finally, why should they take action now? And the reason we're putting CTA or a registration form at the bottom, not at the top, is because we are keeping in mind the intent of the user. They came not to buy, they came to read. But once they finish reading, they're already warmed up and they're in this mental state when they're ready to buy. So education first, then a sale, not the other way around. And there are multiple techniques how you can, encourage an action. FOMO, fear of missing out, being one of them. Now, when it comes to designing your page, keep it short. We already touched upon this. You don't need to write a war and peace. Just aim for 400 to 600 words, to keep the reader's attention. Keep it clean and simple. Keep in mind that don't make it too complicated to read. No, like bold action, underline action, all these things intertwining. That's confusing. Make it readable. And use images. Images are great Sometimes a good image can tell a big story. Obviously, don't pollute the text with tons of irrelevant images, but it's good to have a few, especially if it's before or after. That's a bit of an additional breakdown. So article title, pretty much identical to an ad that you're having on Taboola. Author and date to make it look trustworthy. Hook, or anchor, which is a journalist terminology. So explain why the reader should be reading this. Just 2 sentences maximum, or a nut graph, as you can call it, 1 to 3 sentences. A brief summary. Think of it these terms. CTA should be at the bottom, maybe a couple, 1, 2 throughout, but keep in mind you don't want users just to click without any particular action post-click. You want the meaningful click. Hence my previous remark about clickability of your ads. CTA is important, but post-click performance is even more important. And this is why the biggest CTA should be at the very bottom, where the users already engaged with text to a point when they really want to buy what they've just been told about. Hyperlinks. Hyperlinks are awesome. They're important, especially in the Nutri department, because if you're not hyperlinking relevant clinical trials or studies saying that this particular ingredient is great for you, then you're not passing the moderation. It's important to add these hyperlinks at the bottom, and don't worry about finding them. Our colleagues from AdCombo can help you with this. We have everything ready, but just leaving it out here that hyperlinks should be used, but they should be used meaningfully. And keep in mind that unless this is clinical trials, and even if it's clinical trials, make sure that when someone's clicking on a hyperlink, your user is clicking a hyperlink, the hyperlink, and this may sound obvious, but still, opens in a separate tab. Because you don't want the user to leave the page, because they would need to do an extra action, click back, and you're losing them, you're losing their attention, the bounce rate goes up. You don't want this. You want them to go down the very narrow corridor where you're guiding them and making sure they're buying something or whatever you're selling. Pop-ups, some of you, I'm sure, run pop-ups, pop-unders, similar logic. Use it in a meaningful way, and don't use it at the very beginning. It's a very bad practice when you are polluting your text with an immediate pop-up, because naturally someone will try to close it, and your bounce rate will go up because people will be like, okay, it's too complicated, too many things to close. No, put it somewhere closer to the bottom when people are already engaged. Well, the CTAs we sort of already briefly talked about. Maybe an additional thing to mention: don't put your CTA on the side. People will confuse it with an ad banner, and you don't want your CTA to be confused with an ad banner, because if people do, they will never click on it. It's that obvious. Yeah, and I talked about this as well. So post-click performance is very important. So, I mean, if you're using a registration form at the bottom, this may not necessarily be as relevant for you. But in some cases, if you're running a slightly longer funnel, which is not always the case, but still, want to leave it out here, use strong words with strong call to action. Don't be vague, don't be broad. Remember, very narrow corridor, very specific word choice to make sure that people do exactly what you would like them to do. Emphasize just one action. And again, we talked about the format. Gamification is great, but don't make it too complicated. Aim for a traditional approach. Before and after, some testimonials, a very good story, mostly believable. Ideally, it should be believable, not from a fantasy world, not very realistic. Yes, and I believe one last thing in this part: call to action. Don't make it too obvious. Again, don't make it look like an ad. Make it organic looking, make it native looking, but don't emphasize it too much with a huge banner, because again, it's been proven statistically that it will suffer from banner blindness. And I'll let Mark take over. and briefly talked about policy. It will be just 2 slides before we go to the FAQ section and the Q&A section. But before that, Mark, over to you to maybe give a brief overview about policy for health vertical.
Cool. Thanks, Andrey. Yeah, so you've got a lot of the policy here already. Essentially, we know that often the reputation of Taboola on the market is that you can't run sort of the neutral offers or the beauty offers or whatever it might be. That is definitely not the case. We do have policy that makes sure that our publishers are happy and we're happy and essentially the consumers are happy in the end, but there are ways to advertise it and you're still able to get good enough conversion rates and good enough BCTRs that you're able to run very profitable campaigns. In terms of kind of the main do's and don'ts, yes, thank you, Andrey. On the landing page, you need to have advertorial at the very top. You need to make sure that any claims that you make are cited with peer-reviewed studies. You need to make sure that the list of ingredients is present on the pre-lander or the landing page. And you make sure that, you basically subscribe to the local country regulations. So whether it's FDA in the US or something else in the geo that you decide to go under. Essentially, there's a few other points. Your Taboola rep should be able to help you with it if you're kind of willing to do it, but policy is very much a two-way street. Within Taboola, we have a very close relationship with the policy and moderation team from the account management side. But obviously that relies on you guys also actioning the changes and being willing to test stuff that maybe is a little lighter than what you're usually running in other networks. But obviously with the scale that Taboola offers, the stability that Taboola offers, in our experience, it's always worth making that extra effort for Taboola.
Cool. Thank you so much, Mark. I believe this concludes the slides part. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and over to Victoria, I believe, or to Alla. Oh, Una. Sorry about that. See, I had one job and I failed miserably.
So we can just do a little review of the presentation because I suppose some of the guys didn't hear what we spoke about in the beginning. So can you please tell us if anyone can register in Taboola, or do you need to have a registered company, or you can make an account as an individual?
Well, I mean, there are two options here. I suppose, since we're talking about the collaboration between AdCombo and Taboola and a potential partner, there are two options to work with Taboola. One of them is obviously working directly, so reach out to me and I'll help you. But option number two, I'll let Alla talk about it. Alla?
Yeah, so the option number two is to use our AdCombo agency account. What we see, I don't know about global situation, but in many countries, especially in tier 2 countries, affiliates usually don't have legal entities that they are ready to sign the official agreement with Taboola. So as they can't sign the agreement, they don't, so they have the self-service platform, they have the access, but they don't have any personal manager. And as you know, that personal manager, especially as skilled as Mark or someone from his team, it's a real key to success. So what we offer is that our affiliates, only trusted ones, they can join our AdCombo agency account. They don't need any legal entity for that because it is signed between AdCombo and Taboola. Of course, being signed to that agency account, you need to follow all the rules because it's totally white hat, and we must not violate any regulations of Taboola. And still, our super affiliates, they make really good numbers, and they can run white hat, our neutral offers, on really big scales. So how it works, we just send money directly to Taboola and take money from your balance. So, which is also great because you don't have to pay any bank commissions and you don't have to have legal entity. You don't have to have a bank account. So it's only between AdCombo and Taboola. So it's very, very helpful. So we cover your finances, we cover your legal part, and we have a dedicated manager for you. So it's like a full set for success.
Cool, thank you.
Is to run our office and become trusted publisher of AdCombo in order to get the agency account, right?
Correct.
Oh, yes, correct.
So, so let's continue with the repetition of the presentation. Can you start running traffic without any experience, or you need to have some experience with other networks? What do you think it's better for new affiliates?
I think the important part, so we don't have a personal preference, as in like, hey, we only work with experienced ones because we are picky. No, it's not this. Our ideal client profile is someone who is eager to make money and someone who is eager to play by the rules. Because let's put it bluntly, like we're in this business together. Like if our partner succeeds, we succeed as well. It's straightforward. So it's in our best commercial interest to make sure we're giving the most relevant recommendations and the most up-to-date recommendations. And, you know, I've been in this business for a long time, and so has Mark, as a media buyer and as an account manager at Taboola. So we would rather work with someone with no experience, but someone who is working closely with us, listening to our advice, you know, brainstorming with us, and someone who is being reactive and proactive, rather than someone who has a lot of money and lots of experience and an opinion that they can do everything by themselves and they don't need any account management support whatsoever. As a company, we will work with everyone, but for the second type of clients, we have self-service. So if someone has, or at least feels like they have enough experience not to listen or not to collaborate with account management, that is fine. But in this case, there is no need to work with our help. They can just go to self-service, and it's totally fine. We're here giving an extra bit of value. We're here to support those with experience or without experience, but we're focusing all our efforts on those who will appreciate these efforts.
Okay, thank you. And what's the minimum budget to start with running native ads in Taboola? Do we have a minimum or recommended budget?
Excuse me, I already mentioned that I lost my voice a couple of days ago. So I believe there was a slide earlier, and it was very graphical. So there's no need for me to like go through it once again. Our listeners can always rewind. But in short, yes, there is a recommended budget. And again, it's not the budget we're taking from the air. It's the budget that works out from the amount of data that you need to have to succeed. So a minimum budget, you would need is about $3,000 for a smaller country and about $5,000 for a bigger country. But keep in mind, this is not for, 1 day spent. This is the amount of money that you should be equally allocating throughout the month for successful testing. Because again, rather than buying all this data today's Tuesday, on a Tuesday, you should spread out the purchase of this data across several days or several weeks to be able to see how the campaign reacts in different circumstances.
Okay, and do you have the white blacklists available to everyone, or do you just give them to those who work with agency accounts, or are they available at all?
I feel like we're touching on a few aspects here. The first aspect is privilege, as in like you only give approved list to someone special. No, it doesn't work like this. We don't give approved list to someone who is special, and we don't give them to someone who is not. It's not the case. So the second aspect is, do we have approved lists at all? The answer is you should not be. I mean, if you are if you're judging your success based on someone else's success, then you are making a wrong assumption. Because first of all, if someone's put together an approved list, it works for their landing page and for their campaign and for their time of the launch. In your case, whoever I'm addressing at the moment, in your case, you're launching maybe with a similar landing page, but not identical, because this would be theft. So with a similar similar landing page, sort of similar campaign, potentially similar product, but a completely different time of the launch. And when you're buying data it's still people and people's behavior, which can be rational and irrational. It can be similar to previous behavior, or it can be different. So keep this in mind. So rather than asking for someone else's approved list, you should put together your own approved list. And the second answer to this is the common misconception about Taboola is that you need an approved list to succeed, which is a common logic when you're launching with different different native platforms that have thousands and thousands of publishers, where you really need to be picky about which publishers you're launching with. Let's say you have a network with 30,000 publishers. It's a different case. You have 30,000 publishers, but maybe just one or two big names, and the rest are known publishers. And it's perfectly fine to request an approved list in this case, because you want the best publishers. But in the case of Taboola, we work with the biggest publishers out there. There are simply no bigger websites. So we work with the biggest ones. So if they don't work out for your product, well, the chances are smaller websites will not work out. So A, we're already premium and we already have high quality traffic. B, don't try to borrow someone else's success. Build your own one. Yes?
I have a question, because you mentioned theft, and I like tricky questions. And our affiliates, they all like spy tools. And it's not called theft in affiliate marketing, it's called borrowing.
Yeah.
Right? So when they see some lenders and pre-lenders, and they just copy them. So let's say, for example, one of your premium clients, they have created this lender, and then it appeared in spy tools. And though your manager from Taboola side, you know that this lender was used by that team, and then another team starts using it. If the first team claims that this lender belongs to them, will you stop other affiliates from running those lenders or not?
Let me smoothen my choice of words, and let me not retract them but smoothen them. So I wouldn't say theft. Okay, that's probably a strong word. There are two issues with 100% borrowing. The first issue is, in some countries, there may be legal issues, but we are talking about, when you say have a very well-known brand. Let's not talk about, lesser known brands. Let's talk about, an ethereal, well-known brand. And the marketing team of this brand put together a massive strategy, which includes lots of marketing collateral. And then suddenly someone, without affiliating with them, starts using their marketing collateral for their less known product. They may have a legal issue. I'm not saying this will be a case for everyone. I'm just saying be cautious of these situations.
Okay.
And number two, think in these terms. Borrowing is fine, but being inspired is better. Take someone else's work and improve on it. Make it better. Don't necessarily just copy. You may succeed, but think in these terms. If you have the availability to use spy tools, that means everybody can. And if everybody is launching identical products and identical GEOs with identical landing pages, at some point, this bubble will simply burst. That's just how it works. You will burn out the whole vertical, regardless of the size of the platform. It's just a matter of time. So rather than copying and pasting, take it as a structure. Take the structure, maybe take the general idea, but come up with something of your own, and you'll succeed. And you'll succeed tremendously more than someone you've borrowed the original idea from.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to ask because, you know, in AdCombo platform, we have all the like numerous lenders for each product. I don't know, like 20, 25, 30 for some products.
That's a good amount.
And then we also have pre-lenders, and some of the lenders are pre-lenders. Some of the pre-lenders are sales pages as well. And I'm pretty sure that some affiliates who are watching this stream, they will probably just take our creatives from the platform and change them slightly, but I don't want them to be in trouble for using them. Yeah. Okay, perfect. That was my question.
While we are still at the moderation, can you tell us how strict is the moderation in Taboola? Is it similar to other native networks or more strict?
Mark, would you like to take this one?
Sure. I mean, I think I kind of answered that when we were talking about the policy stuff. It's, I mean, it depends what you compare to. We are, I guess, similar in terms of strictness to Outbrain. And I guess we're quite a while away from MGID and Rev Content, although I'm not super familiar with their policy like in depth. The question I think is not quite the right one. Like, can you run absolutely everything black hat? No. Can you run white hat profitably? Yes. And I think that's the right way to think about it. I think if you think about it in the way of, oh, it's going to be too strict and I'm going to have to work a lot to make changes, then maybe we're not the right platform for you, because it will require work. It will require collaboration with your account manager or your policy or whatever. So yeah, I would say it's up in the air, like what is too strict.
And we have success of our affiliates in Europe, in Arabic countries, and in Asia. So I wanted to ask if the moderation is the same in those three countries, like regarding the strictness and how quick it is.
Yeah, so for all major languages, our moderation SLA is 24 hours. It can sometimes be longer with like holidays or like probably during the Christmas period, it will be a little longer, but generally the SLA is 24 hours. In terms of strictness, I mean, it's not really strictness, it's local policy. So for example, the US has FDA regulations that are a lot more strict than what you'd get in a different country. I think it's more to do with, with the local policy, and publishers demand different things depending on which country they're in. Again, the US or Germany is going to be a lot more strict because the publishers there demand one thing, and maybe somewhere else it'll be a little bit less strict. But I wouldn't really choose a geo based on like that. I would choose based on essentially the promise of your offer that you can run.
If you have the account manager in Taboola, you can ask him about what to change on your landing page, and you will give the advice to the affiliate, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of two ways. One, yes, you can reach out to your account manager, especially if it's a more complex issue, and they can have a conversation with whether it's policy or the moderation team. Same thing with your sort of sales rep at the beginning. They can get your offers pre-approved. But we also have an internal tool called DCC, where you have a little window on your Taboola ads account, and you can just directly communicate with moderation. So there's no sort of broken telephone. There's no in between that might not be necessary for more simple things. So there's two ways, but yes, you have access to the moderation team.
That's very useful. And what about verticals that affiliates run on Taboola? Which neutral offers are performing the best in Taboola? Do you have some? Because in AdCombo we have lots of diet offers and health offers. Are they good from your?
I mean, yeah, I think it's again a little bit geo-specific. Some things are universal. Beauty and weight loss are generally just, they work very well, regardless of the geo. When you get into health, it gets a lot more complicated with policy, and you will need to, work a little bit harder, most likely. But a lot of the sort of AdCombo offers work very well in our network. It kind of, yeah, depends a little bit on the time of year, on the geo, on what people are buying, what you're seeing on other platforms as well. But yeah, a lot of these types of offers work very well.
When you mention the season, and do you think that the traffic is affected by the season or by some geopolitical moments in the
Yeah.
world, like elections in the USA or
Yeah,
Christmas or
100%. So, excuse me. So, geopolitics do affect the traffic, but I would say generally they do affect the traffic only in a positive way. The reason being is when people are reading the news, like when something happens, even if they're on Twitter and Facebook, they end up reading an article. And articles are web pages. And web pages are monetized by Taboola. So when there is something happening in the world, unless there's something like super severe and a publisher, like let's say, the passing of the Queen a couple of weeks ago, like in this case, a publisher from a selected geo may request, a restriction on the web pages that are educating the general public about the event. And in this case, the traffic may decrease. But generally speaking, events like the elections in the US, they only increase the amounts of traffic. So that's about the geopolitics. Now, about seasonality, I would say obviously, during holidays, people tend to read the news a little less. But again, it depends. So I would say it's rather ambiguous statements. But what it's important to keep in mind is the financial fiscal quarters. Because, for instance, there are 4 times in the year when the majority of companies are closing their financials, right? So think in these terms. Like, let's say it's December, which is the end of Q4 for the majority of companies. Plus, it's a holiday season, so it's only natural because the holiday season, advertisers will be advertising more to sell more gifts. Plus, it's the end of the financial quarter, so naturally there'll be more advertisers coming from big agencies who would need to close their budgets by the end of the year or by the end of the quarter, meaning since they're doing branding, they will be naturally increasing their CPC because they don't care about performance, they care about closing the budget. I mean, they care about performance, but they don't care about performance as performance advertisers do. So in this case, they care about the volume, and they need to get the volume even at the expense of higher CPCs, which overall drives the CPMs up. So it shouldn't be a problem if you're a long-lasting advertiser, someone who's already started, someone who's already taking certain placements and being successful at keeping them. But if you're, say, if you have an advertiser who would want to launch mid-December, I would rather say wait 2 weeks. Why doing it right now? You won't succeed. I mean, maybe you will, but the chances are fundamentally lower versus, a much quieter time, which would be beginning of January, which is the beginning of a new quarter, and post-holiday season where there is less competition. Yep.
I wanted to add here that right now native ads are getting more and more popular among affiliates who were doing Facebook ads and TikTok before, because previous months, I don't know, like a month or two, there were really big problems with the Facebook bans, and traffic was going down. And actually in Facebook every year, once there is like elections in US or something like that, all the campaigns get banned, and the accounts don't have much spent. So that's why it's really great that right now we are making this webinars, and I'm sure a lot of Facebook and TikTok affiliates joined us today to get more familiar with native ads. And it's great that actually with you it's like vice versa, right? So when Facebook goes down in native ads, it all goes up. So I think it's amazing if affiliates can diversify their skills and diversify their traffic using both, then it will make them very stable.
Yep.
Good. And I have one more question, and I think it will be the last question from me. So in AdCombo, we have landing pages that can be downloaded from the account. So you can upload them to your hosting and promote it like your domain name. And what about direct links? Can you use direct links from the affiliate network in Taboola, or is it better not to do that? So, for example,
for Ella.
it's more for Taboola.
I think it's better not to use it, because if somebody spoils the domain, I mean, runs like pop traffic or something like that, the domain will be just marked as not safe, and maybe your pages won't be opened. That's the first thing. Another thing that is in AdCombo, you can click on different lenders and pre-lenders, and then there will be a rotation. And I'm pretty sure that all native networks, you don't like any rotation, even if these are two totally white hat lenders. You should not split test like that. It should be separate campaigns, if I'm not mistaken, because we had this problem when a person approved both lenders, and then he was splitting them not inside Taboola with the different campaigns. So the team thought it's like cloaking, and it was a gray hat campaign. So it's better to have one campaign, one white hat lender, and of course it's always great to use your own domains.
Yeah, there was a little issue in the past. We worked it out, but yeah, definitely it's a good practice to stay away from smart links and like rotational links. I understand that we may be a little bit old-fashioned with our approach, but it's only dictated by the realities that we have built our business in. Because working with the largest publishers means, we have commitments to them, quality commitments being one of them. So if we are, let's say, putting a quality stamp on a landing page, and then for some reason are replacing this landing page with something that we've never put a stamp on in the first place, that creates complications. So to avoid these complications, we stick to a very simple logic: one campaign, one landing page. So if we have a rotation of 3 links, that's totally fine, but let's break it down in 3 campaigns rather than 1.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And on our side, I also want to add that we don't let anyone into our agency account. We will open it only to our trusted affiliates, to those who are with AdCombo already for some time, that you run traffic with us successfully. Or if you come to our network and you can prove that you can be concerned as a reliable affiliate. For example, you can show us your previous experience. It might be some screenshots from your trackers that you have experience with native ads or like Facebook, but you want to try it. Or if you are some public affiliate and you are well known in the industry. Otherwise, first you will need just to start an account with us, run some traffic, not in our agency account, but let's say in native ads in Facebook or something else. We get closer, we understand you better, and then once we have a good relations, then we can let you in to our Taboola account.
Cool. I suppose, Una, that concludes the.
Yeah, that was the last question, right? from
the last
Una.
question from us. Yeah.
Cool.
So we can maybe, if Victoria is here, maybe we can go to the questions from the subscribers.
And I'm curious, how many people are watching this at the moment? Because I don't have visibility.
That's me again. So?
Sorry, Victoria. But I said, first of all, good to see you again. And secondly, do we have visibility over how many people are watching us at the moment?
Oh, yeah, there are 36 people.
Cool. Cool stuff. Thanks for staying with us, guys.
36. But, yeah, there were no people.
with people before. Okay, thank you again for sharing such valuable recommendations. And now I suppose that we can move to our Q&A session. And so I beg your pardon before hence for mispronouncing your first name or last name. I will try to do my best, but I can make some mistakes. So here comes the first question from Mohammed. He's asking how much should be the budget when we start the campaign, I suppose a native ad campaign.
I think we covered this. So we mentioned this at the very beginning, and then we revisited this. Aim for 3K for a small geo, 5K for a larger one.
So the next one is CSO is asking, what are the basic principles of winning an auction?
What are the best practices of winning the auction?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's asking.
First of all, thanks guys for your questions. I didn't thank Mohammed first, so I appreciate it. We love engagement. Mark, how do we win the auction? How do we trick this devious algorithm and make it work in our favor?
Yeah. I mean, so the auction, as Andrey I think mentioned at the very beginning, is based on a very simple metric, VCPM. And essentially, the higher VCPM, the more and the better placements you will be getting. By better, I mean higher up, essentially. So you'll get more placements and better. Now, VCPM, the constituent parts of that are the CPC and the VCTR. VCTR is it's a difficult metric, right, to improve. It's the clickiness of your ad. Essentially, it's important that your ad is interesting enough and is following some of our best practices. We have lots of information online that you can find on, for example, trends.taboola.com, where you can get information on the sort of top stuff that's running on the network, and you can get inspired by that. Again, not borrow, but inspire. And the other constituent part of that is CPC. So CPC is something that you set within the campaign. It's what you're willing to pay per click, and then Smart Bid will optimize for that. Smart Bid might go higher or it might go lower, depending on the likelihood of the user converting. So essentially, with a competitive VCTR, you should be able to bid a little bit lower. And with a less competitive VCTR, let's say you're selling something extremely sort of dry, that is not very interesting, but it's a high value product, you'll probably have low VCTR but high CPC. If you're selling something that's essentially a little bit lower value, but much more open to the public, so something that anybody can use, you'll probably have a slightly lower CPC but a higher VCTR. Your Taboola rep will always be able to share benchmarks with you, but generally speaking, it's better to start with a high CPC and lower it with time. And the reason for that is a higher CPC from the very beginning gives you a higher VCPM from the very beginning, which means you'll start with a higher placement, which informs your VCTR in the future. So that's kind of the main advice when it comes to winning auctions.
Okay, thanks. Great answer. So the next one is again from Mohammed. Thanks for your engagement. That's amazing. He's asking how many creatives should we make to get results? I suppose it's about quantity.
Mark,
how many creatives should it be for to launch the campaign for the start?
Mark, I think it's more your domain.
Yeah, I'm happy to take it. It kind of depends on the starting budget that you have. If you go with whatever your rep recommends, and we have like guidelines, and they said it's not like what's the recommended budget. There's actually like math involved. Then usually we will recommend between 9 and 12 ads. What that looks like in practice, it's 3x3 or 3x4. So you have 3 or 4 headlines and 3 or 4 images, and then they get mixed automatically by our system. And so then you're able to see essentially what works in this first iteration. It does sometimes happen that, you know, from the first test, you'll get your winner and you don't need to test anymore, and like, you know, enjoy the Bahamas. But usually you will need to test more. And if you have this setup of like 3 to 3, 3 by 4, you will usually have information that will let you move forward. So either some headline doing particularly better or some image doing particularly better, and then you can iterate on that. So yeah, the sweet spot is between 9 and 12.
Okay, thanks. So the next question is from Kamal Dean. Yeah. How can we start our campaign with Taboola? But I think there is a question for Ella, maybe, because maybe Kamal is already our affiliate. I think this question needs to be clarified.
Okay, if we are speaking about existing affiliates, then you should contact your affiliate manager and say that you want an agency account to be a part of our agency account in Taboola. Then we already have the list because we have the stream in another language. So we will put you in the list of those who are ready to join our agency account. And then your manager gives the analytics regarding your traffic, how much money you earn within our system, how trustworthy you are as an affiliate. So that will be the major questions regarding which we will be making the decision to let you into our agency account or not. That is the case if you are already AdCombo affiliate. If you are not, you can register in our system, and once again you will have a dedicated manager in our system, because in AdCombo we don't have self-service. All our registrations, they receive affiliate manager. So once you register, you will need to prove to your affiliate manager that you already have some experience to transfer some of your traffic that you may be running right now with some other affiliate network to our offers. And then once we do the quality check and understand that your leads are good and your campaigns are well converting and our advertisers are happy with your traffic, then once again we can discuss the opening you an account in AdCombo agency account in Taboola. And of course there is a third way that our colleagues from Taboola covered, that you can be running a self-service with Taboola if you have the legal entity, if I'm not mistaken, right, Andrey?
I mean, as you said, so if it's a great partner, passed all the trials of AdCombo's pre-moderation and deemed worthy. No, I'm just joking. So, like, if you have a great relationship, if you know it's AdCombo's decision after all about whether they would like to let someone to their agency account or not based on multiple criteria, great. You don't need any legal entities. You just you work out between each other, and you get, from the Taboola standpoint, you get your access straight away. Like it's very easy. Like it can be the same day launch. Like if you'd like to launch separately, that's also possible. We would very much prefer you to have a legal entity. So our company legal entity is registered in the UK. So if you have a UK entity, keep this in mind, because you need to be paying VAT in this case. But if you have a legal entity elsewhere, let's chat. Should be no problem, generally speaking. Ideally, yeah, it should be a legal entity. If you are sole trader, like a physical entity, it's on a case-by-case basis.
And one crucial moment to cover up. So this question, I suppose, is for Ella. So do we have successful case studies, or maybe something like that, with Taboola and our affiliates? Because as far as I know, we have such cases when our affiliates started running native ads with Taboola, and then they got really nice results.
Yes, of course we do. We have right now we have already several affiliates in our agency account because we opened our agency account after affiliate summit, I guess, about 2 or 3 years ago. And it took us some time to understand how to run neutral offers, totally white hat, and then to scale those. Of course, the biggest success has our internal media buying teams because they were just like nailing it, on the daily basis. We were really approaching it. But recently, some other external affiliates are joining our agency as well. And of course, they have success. The major success, of course, is in stability because there are no bans, right? And once you understand how to run ads with Taboola, you have access to enormous traffic. So regarding our internal media buying teams, they do not compete with external affiliates because they concentrate on concrete geos. And our external affiliates, they, as I already mentioned, they had success, pretty big success in Europe, in Arabic countries, and in Asia. That's what I see in the account right now. Unfortunately, I can't cover any case studies. I actually wanted to participate in the stream with some case studies, so I asked our external affiliates if they can share something. But as these are very profitable campaigns, they don't want to share their secrets. But what I can tell you and what I can promise you that they came to these secrets following Mark's recommendations. So once you start working with us and you will have the dedicated manager from Taboola and the dedicated affiliate manager from AdCombo, then following all those steps, you will definitely be able to scale.
And I saw a slide shown by Andrey. Now it disappeared.
Oh, you want me to show it again? It wasn't a slide. It was just from our website. So in case someone's curious, just just dash to our website in the marketing section, resources section. There is a case study subsection, and in the subsection there is an AdCombo page where we are. So the AdCombo case study was published a while ago, but the information there is very relevant.
Yeah, I want just to mention here that it's like the case study that does not reveal all the secrets. I mean, I don't know, it depends on the country and on the mentality, but in some forums, people think that the case study is that you just go over the case study and then you copy the strategy totally. You copy the same product, copy the landing pages, and that's what they consider by the case study. So considering this, we don't have a public case study copying all the success because it's the recent success and these are ongoing campaigns. But yeah, there is a very interesting information on Taboola website that you can read, and you can read between the lines because there are always hints on how to do it profitably.
Yeah, there is quite an interesting case study, and if you want to read this, I can drop the link in the chat. So we're moving to the next question. The next question is from 8M today was. He's asking, or she, the big button, is the average approval rate for AdCombo offers in Taboola?
Difficult question. It's a very general one. What was it? What's the average approval rate on Taboola?
For, I suppose, for AdCombo offers in Taboola.
AdCombo. Okay.
Offers,
okay, that's different. So for AdCombo, obviously that's Ella's domain and your Victoria or Una's. But for Taboola, again, it's a very general question. Depends on the geo. Depends on the product. Very general. I wouldn't be able to answer it, I'm afraid. There are too many factors to count in. Mark, maybe you can narrow it down.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think even one offer, as Ala mentioned, can have, what did you say, 40 landing pages, 30 landing pages? So then if you extrapolate that with 9 ads that we recommend, and just have like 3 offers, that gets into, you know, the hundreds and thousands of options. So it's an impossible answer. It's possible to get stuff approved, work with your rep from both AdCombo and Taboola, and it will be approved. That's the best advice I can give. Don't think about averages, I would say. There's just too many factors involved.
I would also add here that approval rate when you run Taboola is of course pretty higher than when you run Facebook, and of course like tremendously higher than when you run TikTok ads, because those spots, they are pretty premium and the traffic quality is better. And of course when you run white hat and how to say, that audience is more motivated because they don't follow some emotions, maybe, if you understand what I mean. I mean that it's they're more stable in their funnel when they're ready to buy something, because you don't use some shock content that they forget, I don't know, in like 5 or 10 minutes once they receive the call. So I don't know, there are a lot of options why the approval rate is higher with Taboola traffic, but it is definitely higher. It's better to ask your affiliate manager for more details regarding the concrete offers. And Una is here. Una is the head of our office in Serbia. And if you're watching our stream from somewhere from Europe, you will be having a dedicated manager from her office. Once you start working with AdCombo. So she and her team will be able to answer all the questions. Oops. Sorry.
Feel free to ask. And yeah, like Ella said, Taboola traffic has much higher approve rates than Facebook. So it's, in terms of stable campaigns and long-term profit, it's definitely worth a try.
Thanks. So another question about to here. Mohammed is asking again. What common offers have worked on Taboola before? I suppose maybe he's talking about some verticals, maybe. As far as I know, health and beauty offers.
Maybe I can answer this question.
Really successful with Taboola.
So from AdCombo's side, I can say that weight loss offers had success with native traffic in Europe, especially like in Germany, Italy. Also, yeah, beauty offers. So I would say those are the best offers. If you want, I hope Mark will agree with me.
Yeah, I totally do. Yeah, I think we discussed it a little bit earlier as well.
Marius, Marius is asking, using dozens of creatives per landing site is better than a few. I think the more alternative you test, the more money you have to spend for no reason. Am I right?
Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, can you repeat it, please?
Okay, from the beginning?
Yeah.
Using dozens of creatives per landings or landings, better than a few. I think the more alternative you test, the more money you have to spend for no reason. Am I right?
No. Yes and no. Mark, you wanted to
test maybe?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, if you are a fortune, like some sort of seer who knows the moment they launch something that will be 100% the thing that works, then congratulations, and you should sell that skill. And
the Warren Buffett of affiliate marketing.
Exactly, the Warren Buffett of affiliate marketing.
Shall work, and it works. You're like, wow, magical. The first landing page and the first creative, and it's working straight away.
then yes, don't waste money on testing. But if you're, a human like the rest of us who's not doesn't have 100% of the information, then you have to test. Otherwise, how will you know?
And we were not speaking of dozens of lenders, though, right? You were speaking about a dozen of combinations, right? You were saying about 3 creatives, as I remember, and then 3 texts, and then the system automatically combines them. So it's not exactly that you take 12 different lenders and then for each like 12 different creatives.
No, we wouldn't recommend mixing so much. Like that combination of 3 times 3 is for one lender. Generally, your Taboola rep should be able, or together with your AdCombo rep probably, will be able to tell you what sort of lenders will convert best from their experience. So you can narrow it down to about 1, or you could put in like a split test potentially if it's very similar. But that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, you don't need to test 40 lenders or 12 lenders. It's more about the ads, because on the ad level, once you won't have the information, but in the lender, it's usually sort of you have a little more information. You don't need to test as much.
And I think that's every A/B test implies some extra expense. That's normal. The next question is from Renato. The question is, what about the Taboola inventory in Latin America? Is there a way to check the volume?
I mean, we do have the traffic there. The reason we decided not to bring this up this time is because we need to be, I'll be blunt, strategic. Like, we know for a fact that sometimes it's a good time to launch in a selected geo from a strategic standpoint, because if we were to recommend everyone, you shall go to Romania, and everybody goes to Romania, and then no one goes to Romania because it's too crowded. So the reason for not mentioning Latam this time, probably I would have, maybe a few months ago. Now it's just, in my opinion, it's a little bit too crowded. And Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the reason we're saying, guys, go to Eastern Europe or go to Asia is just because we know for a fact that there aren't as many, health-related campaigns there at the moment. So from the commercial standpoint, it makes sense to go somewhere where you will have a competitive advantage, not a crowd of people to compete with.
Yeah, exactly. Think about it as the sort of Waze effect. If you're driving and you get in a traffic jam, and then everybody around you is in the traffic jam, and Waze sends all of you in the same way, then you're just in the traffic jam again. So it's the situation we don't want to create. We want to make sure that you do have as much success as possible. And certain, like Andrey said, geos do better in certain times of year. So I would stick to the ones that we've recommended. But again, once it gets more concrete, you can discuss it with your Taboola rep.
I also have a question here regarding traffic in Brazil, because actually AdCombo is launching our own neutral offers in Brazil. Right now we have actually e-commerce offers in Brazil, which are pretty interesting, why we haven't tested with you guys yet. But do you have traffic in Brazil?
It's the third largest geo, no, second largest geo we have at Taboola. So Brazil, yeah, like I don't believe we have had any activities with AdCombo in Brazil. Maybe I'm wrong, need to double check, but no, I believe we haven't. So if you're interested in expanding to Brazil, that's awesome news. We have tons of traffic to share with you there.
Yeah, it's interesting because all other, not that high level networks, they also have traffic in Brazil, and usually nobody knows what to run there because the market is so specific. So how do you think our neutral offers will convert well in Brazil market regarding your experience?
As long as you translate it into Portuguese from Spanish.
Of course, of course. Of course, we always have the localized lenders, pre-lenders, that's what we usually do. And of course, our call center speaks Portuguese as well.
Fantastic. So you're already, you're already a few steps ahead of everyone. So no,
and traffic is cheap there.
Yes. I would say it's very much affordable.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is good news.
You said that you have ecom offers now as well. I mean, it's the quarter of ecom, with Christmas and Black Friday, which are also observed in Brazil, of course. So it's a good time to run that. But I think health offers should work there as well. Brazil, yeah, we have one of some of the best reach of any network in Brazil. So it's definitely worth testing it.
And how do they usually pay in Brazil? I think they don't use credit cards, but they also don't do cash on delivery. So what we're mostly trying to do is a biletto payment. It's once they pay at the post office. Yeah, okay, got you.
Yes, that's
So
also how we work with Brazilian clients. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. So that's that means we're on the right way and we can expand even more. So Brazil may be a good region to try as well.
Perfect.
And Muhammad is asking again, do you have any creative examples you can show us? So maybe, and
guys,
I
sorry.
broaden this question and that maybe there is some manual or there are some requirements for designing creative materials for Taboola, for running ads on Taboola.
May I please ask a little question regarding Latin America as well?
Sure.
I want to know about Guatemala, because right now we, how to say, redesigned our products for Guatemala as well. And what about Guatemala? Much traffic, good traffic. Should we try it?
Need to check.
Is it let's say medium amount of traffic? It's not huge, but it's not tiny. It's sort of out of the other countries in Latam, it's sort of comparable to its Central American neighbors like Honduras. It's significantly less than, say, the bigger ones like Ecuador and Peru and obviously Mexico. But there is traffic available.
Oh, nice, because recently I saw really good numbers in conversion in Guatemala. So it was just, if we're speaking about Brazil, why not ask about Guatemala? Okay, sorry for interrupting. Let's proceed with...
Victoria, quick question for you. How many questions do we have? Because I feel like we've been doing the webinar for about an hour and a half now. So I assume we should set some time constraints.
Okay, I think you can answer this question and another one, and that's
okay. Cool.
Getting back to the previous question, do you have any creative examples you can show us? And I've added that maybe there is a manual, or maybe there are some requirements available in public for affiliates to check them out and learn how to design creative materials for native ads campaign on Taboola. So maybe there are some examples available right now.
Someone's speaking at the background, so I really struggle to hear your question well. Sorry. But I think your question was about creative strategy and recommendations.
No, I think it's showing creative materials.
Example,
I think I heard it. Yeah, I think now is probably not the right time to share it in a huge forum with all the creative materials. I think once it's very good that you're excited to get started. I think reach out to your Taboola rep and they will be able to share stuff with you. I think in a large forum, it's probably doesn't really make sense.
So no requirements available on public. Yeah, for checking.
I mean, there is some stuff on our Taboola Help Center. You can look there. But if you need to get more specific, in-depth information, that's what our teams are for. Yeah, and if you're an affiliate of AdCombo, you'd better ask your manager because he or she will be very helpful to you with this question. So on the last question, I suppose this is not a question, but maybe it's a request for us something. Other whitehead offers, not whitehead offers, but some offers, beauty, maybe weight loss offers that can be run on Taboola. And maybe there are some recommendations with that. I suppose this question maybe for Una. Are there are there any
maybe beauty and weight loss offers to run with
Well, actually, all the offers, those weight loss and beauty offers, they can all be made white hat, and that's what our affiliates are doing. They're creating a white hat landing page because all these products, they are real products, so they are not like some trials or something, and they can all be run as white hats. But as Ella also mentioned, we now have e-commerce offers in Brazil. So if somebody wants to test with a really white hats offers, they can start with Brazil, for example, and then move to weight loss, which is probably converting more than e-commerce. Maybe I'm not right, but we have the options to test e-commerce or to test weight loss or beauty offers. It's up to the affiliates and their experience so far.
As far as I know, the main reason, the crucial moment is to design the right creative material that will be acceptable with the Taboola moderation. Yes, I'm right here.
If it was a question for me, I didn't hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
Should I repeat this?
If you can, yeah, I think it broke maybe for me.
It's not a question. It's a little side note for me. I said that. Am I right when I'm saying that the crucial moment is to design the right creative material that will be acceptable with Taboola moderation? Because products, the offer, can be quite nice, of high quality, but if you have the creative materials that with some bans, not banned, but forbidden elements that violate Taboola's policy, the offer can be run on Taboola because of not appropriate creative materials.
I think, yeah, the foundation of everything, read the general policy on Taboola website. Step 2, read the additional general policy like your sales rep or account manager shares with you. Also, the guys at AdCombo have extreme amounts of knowledge about running with Taboola, so they can educate you to a point you're also extremely educated. So I guess this is like the second level, and finally, if you get an unfortunate experience working with the moderation when your campaigns get rejected for some reason, again, Taboola account managers and sales reps are here for you. Mark's one of the many amazing skilled colleagues who may be supporting your account. So ask them about the reasons.
Yep.
The managers are your best friends
in
designing appropriate creative materials.
Yeah, I just want to add that on AdCombo side, we have all our products certified. They are of good quality, and that's why we work with Taboola, and Taboola lets our products in. They don't let in all the products of all affiliate networks, but they do let in AdCombo offers.
And I know that for some offers, there are creative materials approved by Taboola's moderation, and in our system, they are marked with Taboola or something, maybe TB.
Oh yeah, they are actually. Yeah, we did that. We created some totally white hat landers. They're marked with approved by Taboola in our system. Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, ask your managers both in Taboola or not all, but and AdCombo, and they will be really helpful to you in reaching your goals. So I think that is it. I think we can end our webinar. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for watching us, and thanks to our experts for sharing such valuable expertise. Hope this info will be quite helpful to you. Follow Taboola on social medias, follow AdCombo on social medias too.
Yes, guys.
Left all the links in the description below. So, and by the way, follow my articles where I will be speaking about driving traffic as a beginner and share the results with you and maybe some tips, recommendations and whatever.
Good luck with
So
that. Good job
yeah,
for doing
thank
that.
you. Thank you. I hope I will succeed. So have a lot of profits, guys. See you soon. And thanks again for
you.
watching us.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.